because I didn't have a plan. And I looked over at my desk and I was like, okay, I saw this, and I'm gonna explain to you what it is. Let's just dive right into it, shall we? This is the book that I wrote. This is the book that I wrote. It is called A Place Like Home. And there's Lauren Elizabeth. So the reason I wanted to talk about this book is because when I wrote this back in 2021, COVID had just happened and I had a lot of free time, and it had always been a dream of mine to write a book. I've always been a reader. I've always loved books, and I've always been a writer as well. I have so many little stories that I wrote as a little girl on my parents' computers. But I decided in 2021, I've got some extra time. I've always wanted to write a book. Let's make this year the year, let's just do it. And so my vision, my goal was to start the book in January and then give the book as Christmas gifts to my friends and family. So that was kind of like the vision that I held in my mind for the entire year to keep me motivated, which I think was very helpful to have something like that. But the reason I wanted to talk about this today is because when I first started this process and started writing a book, I did not feel like it was achievable. I did not feel like it would be something I could do. It just felt so out of reach. And so I kind of was like, I'm just gonna figure it out as I go, But I want to make this video because I want any other aspiring writers, or if you're already writing or you've written a book, to know that you can do it. Absolutely, it's achievable. It's possible. I think sometimes we make things way too complicated for ourselves, and if we'll just simplify it and take the pressure off, especially as creatives, sometimes we can put so much pressure on ourselves to be perfect, or to do things a certain way, or to have our creation look a certain way. And I think it's important to just take the pressure off and just, you can do it. So today I'm just gonna give you a brief overview of my process of writing this bad boy. It was obviously my first and right now my only book that I've self-published. So it's not like I'm drawing from a wide experience or a lot of experience, but this is the experience I do have. So yeah, so I guess I'll start with where I got the idea for the book. I think all of us as creatives experience this. Sometimes there's just something you stumble across, or a place you go, or an event that you read about or hear about, that just inspires you creatively, and your mind just starts running away with you. That is definitely what happened. That was the idea, and how that came, how the story came to be. And I will start by telling you what the book is about so you understand. I've always loved historical fiction. I mentioned that in my last video. And when I was ages 12 through 14, I really struggled to said earlier, like the thing that sparked that creative imagination for me was finding a yearbook from Woodward High School from the year 1920. So I found a yearbook and it had all the pictures of the students, the teachers, the principal, the student groups, the events, the dances. Like, it had everything. It had like descriptions of football games, and so it was just like, it was so cool to read. I ended up printing the whole thing out. My dad was not happy, but I printed like the whole huge book out, because I knew that a story was coming to my head from it. And so that's where it came from. And so some of the teachers in the book at Woodward High were actually the names of the teachers. So I thought that was so cool, like the historical aspect, and I include in the book like the student groups, the real student groups, and some of the real students, and I just thought that was like, it was so fun to research and learn about that. Anyway, that's how I got the story for the book, or the idea, and that grew into the story. So my process for writing this book looked very different than like my writing process now. I think I learned a lot from writing this first book. But basically my writing process for this book was, because I wanted to do it in a year, I decided to split up the year, and I did not stick to it, but I had good intentions. Writing first, obviously, then I wanted to give myself a break, and then edit, and then give myself a break, and then work on like the designing and printing and all that stuff. Good plan, but I did not stick to it. I should have. But yeah, so I took a couple months to write, which is always my favorite part. I love writing, especially when I am passionate about the story, and I was very passionate about the story. So I loved the writing process. To get into kind of like the minutia, I did plan out my chapters. So I started out with like an outline, kind of one of those like outlines that go like this to show you like the beginning and then the climax and then the ending. And so I kind of like mapped out all of my scenes, or like all the major events in the book along that graph, or that I don't know what you call it, outline. And then I broke that down into chapters and like used that to write the book. So it took a couple of months at least to write, I think maybe 4 or 5. And then, honestly, the editing process was not a lot of fun for me. I do really well with like creative inspiration and with words and coming up with ideas and like putting it on paper, that kind of thing. I do well with that, but I do not. I'm gonna set this down because I've just been holding it. I don't really do well with like, I don't know what you would call it. Not details, because I like details, but I didn't do well editing my own work. I think just because when it's someone easy. And that's why I say you can totally do this. Not because I don't think you're capable of hard things, but anyway. I think it was just very stressful because I literally did not give myself any time to do it and to have it not work and like have to redo things. I did not give myself enough time. So with that in hindsight, I would give myself much more time to self-publish when I do it again. But I wanted to talk about the cover. You can see, I'll give you like a panning. My mom watercolored the cover. So I didn't design it, I just told her like kind of what I wanted, and she was able to watercolor it, and it turned out amazing. She even did some little, you can see there, some little blackberries, which is an important part of the book. Oh, and then I'll just show you the back. It's like kind of watercolor type, like you can see the water stains and stuff. Type background, but so there's my description. This, like, doing the design work, oh, here's in here. Doing the design work was stressful because I did not give myself enough time, but if I had more time, I think it would have been so fun. There was just a lot to think about that I'm not, like, I don't really enjoy doing, like, trying to figure out sizing and lining it up within the lines. Like, it's easy stuff, but it's just not necessarily things I enjoy. But yeah, so I self-published on Amazon. Super easy process. I have an ebook as well, or Kindle, I guess it would be. A Kindle book. But Amazon makes the process super easy. You just have to make sure that you give yourself enough time to order a couple of like test copies and see if the layout is what you want, and you know, the design of the cover and the format and everything looks right. But Amazon is so easy, and yeah, so I did end up getting the book in time to give it to like my family and friends, which it was kind of down to the wire, but I did end up doing that. In Estes Park, when I was visiting my sister, I edited, I cracked down and I just did it and finished it, you know, put the finishing touches on. And it was there when I got home, and I can just remember taking the like cardboard box up to my room and sitting cross-legged on the floor and literally like holding that box in my hand and thinking through the past year, because you can absolutely write a book, but it is not easy. Like, anyone that tells you it's easy has either been doing it for a really long time and has like a formula, or they're lying, because writing a book requires a lot of discipline and a lot of like mental energy to be able to tell a story and tell it well and connect with characters. And for me, I feel things very deeply, and so sometimes when I'm writing, I feel like I'm experiencing the emotions that my characters are experiencing, and so there was a lot of like emotional drain, but there's like a lot of, you know, blood, sweat, and tears, like all of that went into this book, and so I can remember just sitting on my floor with that box in my lap and like running through all those moments in my head where it was really hard, or I didn't feel motivated, or I was like, am I ever gonna finish, or finish on time, like, is this gonna be done? And just to have like So I'm working on 2 other books right now. I'm working on another historical fiction set on the Titanic, because while I was in Ireland I was able to stay in Belfast for a little while and like see all the places and hear all the stories, and that was very cool, and that definitely like sparked some creativity. So Titanic, and then the other one is not fiction, it's kind of like part of my story, just some lessons I've learned from life over the last couple of years, the last year especially. And I definitely, in the future, I definitely want to publish with a traditional publishing company. I don't think there's anything wrong with self-publishing, and I love it as someone who has done it. But I just don't enjoy like marketing for myself and all those little details. Like I would so much rather just write and have someone else figure that out, and just give me the book when it's done, you know. But I definitely want to try traditional publishing. I don't think that I'm gonna traditionally publish these 2 books I'm working on. We'll see. I don't really know. We'll see what happens. But yeah, self-publishing on Amazon is a great idea. And it's so easy and accessible and affordable. Like, you don't make that much money, let's be honest, but I really didn't do it with money in mind. Like, I didn't create the book with money in mind. I just have always wanted to do it, and I took 2021 and was like, I'm gonna do it this year. And so I did, and no amount of money can, I don't know, no amount of money is as much of a reward as like creating something like this and holding it and being proud of it. So yeah, so I think it's like, I think it's 200 and how many pages? 250 pages. And then I have an author's note. I'll read you the first paragraph of the author's note. This book, I'm gonna change the way I'm holding this because that is not gonna work. Okay. This book began as a New Year's resolution. Deep down in my heart, I always knew I'd write one someday. Ever since I was a young girl, my passion has been for the story of things. The tales of individuals and how they live their lives in other time periods and worlds. I'm the girl at museums, gawking at old pictures and artifacts, watching black and white movies, listening to swing music. Yeah. And then I like dedicated some things to my family. The dedication, I'll show you. Oh, my wrist. It says, to my family, may we always call each other by ridiculous nicknames. So, that is my book, A Place Like Home. And yeah, the main goal with this video was just to like, not to teach you from my vast amounts of experience, but just to kind of say like, if you're a writer or you want to be, just do it. Like, even if it's not traditional publishing, like if that's what you want or are working towards, like just take the first step, just write a book and publish it yourself and hold it in your hand and let that inspire you to like keep writing and keep pushing towards, you know, the goal you want. And also, I think my biggest piece of advice as a writer, and also like notice how different my voice sounds, or how different my writing sounds than maybe what I thought, or what other people sound like, or what other books are like, or what other authors of my genre